guys, it's Shelly here. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me today. This is a long overdue colour along. So I had done a poll in the community tab for a few books, and this particular book from Eriy, Romantic Country, The Third Tale, won, and then a few pages from this book and this Christmassy page was by far the most popular choice of page that you guys wanted to see on the channel as a colour along. So I just haven't had a chance to sit down and do a colour along this whole month, and I really apologize for that. But yeah, it's just been a really busy month. I was away for a couple of weeks, away from home for a couple of weeks, and with work and everything, I've just not had a chance to sit down and do a colour along, especially after discussing with you guys what kind of colour alongs you guys prefer. And a lot of you said that you prefer the chatty colour alongs. And so to find the time to be able to get a quiet moment without anyone around me, without anyone disturbing me, to be able to do a chatty colour along has been really difficult. So I'm starting this off as a chatty colour along. Hopefully I'm actually able to finish it as that. But yeah, we're going to give it a shot, and if it's not working and I'm not able to produce as many colour along videos, then I may have to go back to my original way of doing my colour alongs, just so that I can get a few more colour alongs out there for you guys if it's just not working into my current lifestyle. But let's give it a try. So like I said, this page is the one that won. So we're starting off our Christmas. Today's Christmas colouring. Today is December the 1st. So it's a perfect time to start off the colouring. And like I said, it's Eriy's Romantic Country, The Third Tale. Now, I wasn't aware. I think it's this book, isn't it? I wasn't aware that it was quite hard to get a hold of this book. I had got it from Amazon Japan a while ago now, but I think apparently it's been popping up on some people's YouTube channels, a lot of people on Instagram, so I think it's available again. So yeah, if you don't have it, check it out. You might be able to get your hands on it. It's a beautiful book. I've only done one page in this book. I think it's this book I've only done one page. Yeah, it looks like. There we go. Yeah, that's the page I'd done, an autumnal page, which took me forever, and I finished it at springtime, but I'd started it in autumn. That was in 2022, so I have done that one page, and that's about it. And so we're going to do my second page in this book. Let me zoom you in, and we'll start colouring, and I'll discuss what my options are with you guys. Sorry, yeah, I'm just going to cut off and just zoom in properly. Okay, I didn't want to make you guys sick by moving around the page and the camera and stuff until I got my perfect position. So there we go. What I'm going to be starting with today, or right now, is the post box, I think, because that's the only thing I sort of have an idea for. I don't know what I'm doing for the rest of the page. So yeah, this style of colour along will be quite interesting, because you guys will probably hear my thought process along the way. Because like I said, I don't always plan out my pages. What I do know about this page is that I do not want to make it so traditional. Meaning, I think I remember seeing a lot of this page done previously, and it's always been, and very rightly, a red post box. And that's the first thing that came to my mind as well, a red post box. But then I was thinking about it, and I said, I want my page to look a little bit different. I don't know if you guys will like it, but this is my plan. I'm going to try and use unconventional colors, meaning that I'm not going for a red post box. I'm going to go for a blue post box, and I'm going to try and make this, from what I'm thinking in my head, try and make this quite a wintry scene, yet make it look Christmassy. So let's see if it's going to work. All right, so we're going for a blue post box, and if you guys don't like that, you'll probably have already clicked off this video, but there we go. All right, so I'm using my Faber Castell Albrecht Dürers pencils, as always. I love these pencils, as you guys know, and I'm just going to start going in. I do have an idea for this particular post box. I was just playing around with my colors to see which colors I wanted it to be, and so I've chosen these colors, so I'm a bit organized with at least the post box. I have got a little bit of water on the side with my little paintbrush in case I want to activate, because with me, I find it really hard to choose what elements I'm going to activate and what I'm not. It just comes to me as I'm coloring. And so I've got that ready on the side in case I decide I want to. Now this particular paper is really nice. So this is the Amazon edition. So it's nice thick paper. It works really well with wet media. So more than likely I will be activating quite a few elements as a base and then going over with my pencils dry, just like I like doing. All right, nothing much different on this video. So as you guys can see, I'm going in with my bluish turquoise. I always start in my shadow areas. I know that I'm going to be creating a shadow with this leaf on the side and with this top part of the post box. So I'm going in with from my shadow area, quite light actually, light-handed. I'm just laying that down. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting because I don't actually have a plan for the rest of the page. But we'll see how it goes. All right, so that was bluish turquoise. And that's Indantherene blue. Just going over the top again, shadow areas. So this color along was supposed to be for November, so I really apologize to you guys, but like I said, I was away for 2 weeks. Then with work and all of that, it's just been quite busy, and I don't like to rush. As you guys know, I don't like to rush my coloring. I've not even colored that many pages for November. I haven't yet recorded my November completed pages. I'll do that, but I had the inspiration to get started on this page, and so I said, okay, I'll get started on this first, so at least I get going on the color along. So I'll come to record my November completed pages soon. And yeah, so hopefully that will be up. That'll probably be up before this video because, as you guys know, it takes me a while to complete a page. So that was Indantherene blue, and now we have ultramarine. Hopefully you guys can see everything. So I think I am going to activate just to help blend all my colors together. So I'm going to use a bit of water to activate these pencils. What I'll try and do is, if I can, I'll try and put the pencils I'm using in the description box below. It's a bit of extra work, but maybe at least you guys will have an idea before getting started what we're using, so you can all set up before, if you're going to follow along. It might help. All right, so yeah, I think I'm going to activate. So I have this is empty. A lot of you guys always ask me, this is the Pentel water brush, and usually you'd add water into the little well here, and then use it as squeeze out a little bit of water on the side, I would say, not on your paper, and then use it. But this is empty, there's no water in it. I just like the tip of the brush. This is a very old brush, so it did get clogged up a while ago, but I had just cut off the edge of the bristles so that it's a bit of a flat edge, and so I like to still use it. So I'm dipping it in water and using it rather than using it as a water brush. You guys can use a normal water brush, or you can use a normal paintbrush or a water brush, whatever you prefer. Okay, I have a little paper towel on the side, so what I do is I dip it in water, I dab it off on my paper towel, just to make sure I don't have too much water. And then I tend to go from the light areas, or where there's not much color at all, into my dark areas. Yeah, because I don't want to pull my dark colors all the way, so I want to control how much of the dark color is going into my highlight areas. Yeah, and then I tend to dab off the excess color off my brush, so that again I'm not pulling it into my highlight area. So I'm always dabbing off. I've not added more water yet. You don't need much water to activate. Now I'm adding a bit of water and then dabbed off the extra and then going back in. You don't need much water to activate these Albrecht Dürer pencils. They're beautiful pencils. They dissolve so quickly with a little bit of water. So yeah, you don't need to drench your papers. So I think I do prefer using the water on this side rather than using it from a water brush. So you could always use a normal brush, but I can control the water more, so I prefer using it at rather than a water brush with the water in the well. Yeah. All right, so I would leave that to dry, and then I'm going to go over. But the good thing about activating is it creates a good base, because all the whites of the paper have been covered up in certain areas. Like, you've not had to spend too much time blending it all together. So when you come to do a layer on the top with dry pencils, it's easier and should be quicker. Not for me, because I'm still quite slow at coloring, but there we go. So hopefully you guys have had a good November. It's only recently started getting cold here in London at least. Suddenly, it was quite warm, and then this week has suddenly got quite cold. In fact, a few minutes ago, before I started recording, it was snowing ever so slightly. It only snowed for like 5 minutes. We don't get much snow here, so it's not gonna settle. But it started snowing a little bit. But then next week, so today I think the temperature is supposed to go up to 3 degrees, a high of 3 degrees. But from next week, it's up to 10 degrees again. So yeah, British weather is a bit confusing. You never know what to wear, how many layers to put on, whether to layer up or just wear thick jumpers. And then depending on if you commute to work in the tubes, it's so hot on the underground. So it's just very confusing. I like the cold, but it's just a bit confusing when it keeps getting hot and cold. All right, so you don't have to be very neat. Yeah, maybe I do spend a bit of time just being neat. I just have OCD. I'm a perfectionist, which is not always good, but I like to do it a bit neatly, but you don't need to. You can just lay down the color really quickly, because if you're going to activate it, it will all dissolve and blend together really nicely. So you don't need to spend too much time. Yeah. Let me see if I can speed up. So my favorite coloring is autumn coloring. I didn't get my enough autumn pages done. Like, I don't feel fulfilled, which is really sad, because I was still coloring autumn pages till, well, I still have some on the go, some whips, which you'll see in my completed pages. But yeah, I think I didn't get enough autumn pages done to satisfy myself. But yeah, I think now we're into, it's definitely cold enough to feel like doing winter coloring. All right, ultramarine. Again, I'm going from my shadow areas, where I think I want my shadow areas to be, into my highlight areas always. Yeah. And I'm sort of using my, even though it's quite dark, the Indantherene blue, I'm using, okay, so Indantherene blue is the dark tone, the dark blue tone, and my bluish turquoise is sort of my mid-tone, and then my ultramarines are my lighter tones. But I have a few other lighter tones, so I don't only use 3 pencils per element. I do spice it up a little bit by using other colors, other shades, or basically I'll go darker than the Indantherene blue, and I'm going to go lighter than the ultramarine still. So I usually start with my mid-tone, I lay that down, I go for a darker tone, and I go for my lighter tone. Then I will work my way with using my darker shades, shadow colors, and use a little bit of highlight colors to blend it into the whites of the paper in the highlight areas. Hopefully that makes sense, but you guys will see me do it. I very rarely start with my dark tone and go to the light tone. Usually it's from the mid-tone. I like to try and maintain the whites or the highlight areas as much as I possibly can, because like I always say, it's easy to add color, not so easy to remove it. So if you lose your highlights, and the other thing I've mentioned, for me, what I find is the high contrast between your highlight areas and the shadow areas is what creates the pop on a page and the 3D effects. And so it's important to try and maintain your highlight areas as much as possible, because if you lose those highlight areas, it's hard to create that contrast, the high contrast. So you want to try and maintain it till you know, okay, you don't need any more in that area, any more color in the highlight areas. Yeah. All right, now I'm just trying to think. So you wait for it to dry, and then you go ahead and color over. But what I'm gonna, yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm now going in on this top one, which hopefully is dry enough, with my Indantherene blue to start deepening up my shadow areas. Yeah, so again, working from the areas that I think will be the darkest. This is quite a large element, so I think what I might do after I've shown you a few sections of this particular post box, I might either do it off camera, I'll see, or I'll just do it and speed it up. So just so that you can see, because obviously the colors I'll be using is the same, and it's just so that you can see where I'm going to lay out my blues, and I'm going to be bringing in a bit of gold. I thought gold might look nice with the rich blues that I'm using. To make it look a little bit more festive. So I'll just show you where I lay them out, which might be better, because otherwise we'll be here for hours and hours, or days and days, finishing off this little well, not little, this big post box. Yeah. Now I'm going to go in with an even darker shade of blue for my shadow areas, which is dark indigo. I love this color. I love using it for shadows. I use it on reds and greens and purples, and it's a really nice shadow pencil to use for shadows. It doesn't just give a flat, like using black sometimes, just going straight in with black. Yes, will darken up your shadows, but it looks quite flat. You could always use a dark indigo and then go over with black, which again, I'm not going to do on this particular element, but I think it gives a bit more interest in the shadow areas rather than just a flat black. So yeah, I love this pencil. It's probably one of my most used pencils in my Albrecht Dürers. This one and ivory. I love using the ivory color, and I use mauve a lot as well, and Payne's grey, and then obviously all the greens. But yeah, I use this and ivory and probably Payne's grey the most. So I always have like a backup pencil of it just in case. So you can see how much darker that's got to the one which we've not yet layered down. And then I'm going in, what am I going in with? Light ultramarine, I think. Yeah. So I am going over the bluish turquoise that we had put, but it does give, again, a little bit of a lift to the blues, so you can't really see the bluish turquoise. I might add it in, seeing once I've laid down all my other blues now, but it does give a bit of a lift to the other blues. It's hard to explain, because I don't really know the theory of art, like layering up different colors on top of each other and what effect it's going to have. I don't know that. It's just from coloring that I've seen how I like my colors to look. And when I first started coloring, I'd probably use, in this sort of a blue situation, I'd use my maybe Indantherene blue, ultramarine, and light ultramarine, and maybe the dark indigo to darken up, and that's it. But then with time, I've seen that adding other blues underneath sort of help, I don't know, intensify the colors, make them more vibrant. I'm not sure, but it would look less a bit more flat if I just used the ultramarines without the bluish turquoise underneath, in my opinion. Oh, sorry, that was light ultramarine, guys, okay? So light ultramarine 140. Now I'm going in with the sky blue. See, I'm not concentrating when I talk. This is so different for me, but you guys can tell me what you prefer, okay, after this particular color along. So this is sky blue, still trying to maintain highlight areas, yeah? And then just to brighten up that highlight area, I think I will use some white. And just go over the sky blue a little bit just to blend it in nicely. But you can see, you don't see much pencil strokes after you've put a base. So it does make the blending process a lot easier, I think, if you activated and created a base, yeah? Now, as you guys know, sorry, I do tend to go even darker, and I just want to darken up some shadow areas. You can go in with black at this point after you've put so many blues down. It won't look flat. I'm just using my Payne's grey, just a little bit, because I want it to be really, I want it to pop. I want this to pop. Don't know if it shows much on the camera, but to me, when I'm coloring, it does have an effect. It increases the effect of the 3D to me. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I think I like that blue. What do you guys think? I think it with gold, maybe I can add a bit of gold, but with gold that will look quite nice. So let me try and add some gold. Hopefully you guys can see everything nicely. All right, so the gold, I think this is not my usual combination of gold, but we're going to try it. I didn't want it to be a lot of my gold elements are usually they're usually antique gold, but I didn't think antique gold would pop out as much. I wanted it to look quite festive, so I'm going to try a different combination today. Let's see. So this is brown ochre, so I'll be testing this out with you guys basically. Let's see if it works. Okay, so brown ochre, again, I'm starting in the areas that I think are going to be in the shadow. This is sort of like my mid-tone. We'll see how this works. I don't think I'm going to activate this because it's quite a small element. So there's no need to activate it. It'll blend quite fast. Yeah, so brown ochre. Oh, this is quite small. Look how tiny this pencil is. I'm going to go in with light yellow ochre. So the light yellow ochre will be going into the highlight area. So I'm just going over the brown ochre a little bit and into the highlight areas a little bit. I want to maintain the whites, remember, until I'm sure that I don't need any more white. Yeah, so that's my light ochre. You can always go in with your pencils. So I'm quite light-handed right now, but if you feel like you need to intensify your colors, you can always go in again over the top. But I just want to first lay down the colors because, like I said, it's a new combination for me. This is cream. Should have maintained a bit more highlight area, but there we go. All right. Burnt ochre. So where am I going to put the burnt ochre? I'm just going to go sort of over again so that it doesn't look too flat brown. I'm adding burnt ochre because it has a little hint of orange to it, because I'm still going to darken up my shadow areas. With metal, you have to have a big contrast between your dark shadow areas and your highlight areas to make it look like metal. So there, and then we're going to go for burnt umber. Okay, always go in with colors. I think that looks okay to me. Maybe a bit of the burnt ochre, sorry, just to blend that in there. Okay, all right, and then black is just in the darkest shadow areas. I don't want to bring it out too much. like I said, to create the contrast for the metal. And I think I might need to use a bit of white in the highlight area. There we go. What is that? Yeah, I think that looks nice, doesn't it? Decent color combination for the gold. I think that would be fine. Now I use the white for the blue, so you have to always make sure that your white, if you're using it in the highlight areas, that it doesn't have any color on it. So I'm just cleaning it off. I don't have a piece of paper here, which is silly. But I've cleaned it off on this little tissue, and I'm just gonna go into my highlight area and just blend out into my lighter tones like that. There we go. What does that look like, guys? I think that looks really nice. That blue and gold looks nice together. Now, whether I'm going to be happy with the blue post box, I don't know yet, but I like that it's going to be a bit different to what I've seen or what I remember seeing. I'm sure everyone very rightly has done a red post box. So yeah, I'm going to use gold right there. All right, now what shall we do? I think what I'm going to do is, because it's such a large element, I may speed it up a little bit. Let's do one more of the blue. Where did I put my brush? Sorry. Okay, let me do one more of the blue and then we can maybe speed it up. We'll see. Okay, Indantherene blue. Starting in my shadow areas. Alright, I think it was the light ultramarine next, was it? I can't remember, but we'll do that. Yeah, into the highlight areas. Sky blue. Dark indigo. If you have such a small pencil, it is good to use an extender because you have a bit more control. So I did have it on there before, but I used by the way, I used the Derwent extender. It comes in a pack of two, a silver one and a black one. The black one is a bit more narrow. The Albrecht Dürer pencils are a little bit wide, so they don't fit into the black one, but they fit well into the silver one. Sometimes in my videos you might see me use some colorful ones. They work okay, but not perfect. So I've never really shared what that one is with you guys. I can show it to you in a minute. But this Derwent one, the silver one, works well. Maybe the black one will work with other pencils. I haven't really tried because I don't have that many sets, as you guys know. So you could always try it and see with your other pencils it might work, because I think the Albrecht Dürers are a little bit wider than regular color pencils. just adding a little bit more Indantherene blue. Yeah. And then I think, was it the Payne's grey we went in with? Okay. And remember, I've used quite a few layers. Not all books, paper will allow these many layers. So yeah, you just have to be a bit picky on the style of coloring you use for different papers, yeah? So this paper, like I said, is quite nice and thick, so it does work. I'm just wiping off my white pencil. It does work with lots of layers. And you know when you add a base of Albrecht Dürers and activate it with water, it just adds, it sort of adds a little bit of roughness to the paper, a little bit of, I would say, sort of tooth to the paper. So adding a base with watercolor paints or with Albrecht Dürers and activating it does sort of give you a little bit more to work with if you want to have lots of layers, just so you're aware. Because certain paper, like I have the second edition of Eriy, which is the English edition, and it's really smooth, and I just could not color in it. But then when I started using that technique of just adding a base with either Tombow Jewel brush pens, but off a palette, so apply it wet like watercolor, or using watercolor paint, so using the Albrecht Dürers and activating it and then coloring over, sort of helped with the coloring process in the English editions, just so you're aware. So yeah, there we go. How does that look on camera? Nice. I like the blue and gold. All right, I'm trying to think how to do this for you guys, because this is, as you can see, it's already taken me how many minutes? This is 30 minutes long, and all I've colored is that, which is why I do tend to do my videos to music and do tend to speed it up. But what I'm going to do is I am going to, how about I show you, I mark out where my blues are going to be and where my golds are going to be, and then I'll do it off camera, and then I'll be back with you guys, because yeah, this will take me a while to color. So let me use my first color was the bluish turquoise, and I'm going to use that sort of to try and map out where my blues are going to be all over the post box, if it helps. So let's say, I think this part of the post box, which I'm going to have the writing in, will be gold. So we'd use brown ochre for that, didn't we, as the first color. So I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm just going to sort of map out. So I'm going to use brown ochre. Maybe I'll speed it up, yeah, portions of it, so at least you can see a little bit colored. I'm going to use my bluish turquoise. Let me just keep this here. My bluish turquoise for the frame around it. So my blues, okay. And brown ochre. So this little bit here, I'm going to make gold, yeah. I'm going to make, so this will obviously be blue, so let's make, I think, okay, I'm going to think about that one. Then let us say this, again, everywhere I have the writing, I think I'm going to make it gold, so it stands out a bit. Okay, so that's going to be gold. This here is going to be gold. This is going to be gold. And then that behind there is going to be blue, but this little framework, I'm going to make gold. Yeah. Okay. And then this is going to be blue. Just sort of mapping out my colors very lightly, so that even with me, I know what I'm doing. So this is going to be blue as well, this whole part. This little thing will be blue. This is going to be blue. hopefully this makes sense a little bit at least. So if I speed it up, at least you'll know where the colors are going. I think this is going to be blue. And that. So then I'll just make this part. Do I want to make it gold? I don't know yet. Let's do this blue. See, it's I don't plan out the whole page in that I know exactly where my colors are going to go. Sometimes when I'm coloring and I see how the colors are, you know, working out, is when then I will decide, okay, where to add certain colors or how to distribute the colors. So yeah, this is a little bit difficult to do it this way. All right, and then, so that's blue. I think this will still be blue as well. That whole panel. And that, of course, same thing as the other side. All right, I think these panels here will be blue for sure. And the one going down. And it's okay if you don't know where you want to put everything yet. Start laying down some color, and as you do it, then to your eye, you'll see what works for you, what you like. The look of more, maybe you can add more gold, or you keep things a bit more blue. So I might not just decide on all the colors right now, because once I start adding the colors, then I'll see whether I want to add more gold or what I'd like to do. So that's blue and that's blue. Good. Okay, this is going to be blue here. But doing this right now, I'm actually thinking this will make it so much more relaxing, because when I'm coloring now, I know where all the blue elements are going to be, and it just makes it a bit more relaxing. We've decided what colors we're using and sort of mapped out where some of the colors are going. So it will make it a bit more just chilled out coloring, which is what we want, isn't it? Don't want to keep thinking, okay, what next? Where should the other colors go? You know, things like that. You just want to sometimes be able to zone out and enjoy the coloring process without having to think too much. And sometimes you will have seen me do this on other videos where your page is quite busy and I use my Tombows simply to base. Yes, it doesn't really help in certain pages, basing, but I like to just base and map out my colors so that when I sit down to actually fill them up and intensify the colors and all of that, it's relaxed coloring, and I don't have to think too much about where those colors are going. Okay, so we've done some of the blues. I don't know what I'm going to do that part. I'm thinking maybe the gold color, but I think I want to see how all the colors look before I decide on that color, which is absolutely fine. I'm thinking it might be gold, but we'll see. I want the post box to look more blue than gold, so I don't want to by mistake add too much gold and then I can't obviously change it. Same thing with that pillow. Once I decide what color that part is going to be, then I can decide what the pillars are going to be. And I'm not sure what to do with these bits yet, but I don't think I want them to be blue. So I'm going to leave that for now. And yeah, so I think that's a lot of color to first get down, and then obviously figure out the others, isn't it? Okay guys, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to still color this on camera, but I'm going to speed it up so to a bit of music or something, just so that you can see, you're sort of seeing where I'm laying out my blues right now and some of the golds, but so that you can see where I'm putting my shadows and highlights, obviously, because there's so many different elements here. We want to try and make it look 3D, and so I will color it on camera just so you can see where the shadows and highlights are going. And yeah, if I do it at real time for you guys, this will take forever. I'm unfortunately not a fast enough colorist to do real-time coloring. So yeah, I'll speed it up and you guys will still be able to see it, and then I'll be back and we're going to carry on. So wherever I've not put color yet, I'm not going to color, so we can discuss, or I can explain my thoughts of what colors I'm going to put and why. And as always, when I color a specific element or quite a large element on a page, I tend to, in my other color alongs, put a screenshot of that particular element before I go on to my next coloring. So I think on this layout of color alongs, I'll still do the same thing so that you can actually see it colored. And if you wanted to pause at that point to see a little bit more, because I've sped through it, see it in a bit more detail, that's absolutely fine as well then. Yeah, all right, hopefully you guys don't mind, but yeah, let's put this little bit to music and I'll be back with you, so don't go anywhere. Okay guys, so now that I have some of the blues sort of set out, I can, and the gold, I can sort of see better what I would like for the other remaining parts of this post box. And I think I need to fill up a little bit more of the elements on this particular post box with blue, because yeah, I wanted the post box to be predominantly blue. So so what I'm thinking is this area here, I want to put in as blue. I'm just, again, going to lay out the colors like I'd done earlier, sort of, so I know. So all of that will be blue, okay? Yeah. All right. And then we're going to use, for the gold areas, I think these pillars, little pillars here, will be gold, okay? Just laying down the color a little bit again. It did help me to actually do the rest pretty fast. In terms of, I didn't have to think too much about where the colors were going. I just went ahead and colored it all. So that, I think, will be gold. I think I'll do this bit gold as well. Yeah. And then also these bits that I'd sort of left out, I think, but I'll darken it up, but those will be gold. Hopefully I don't forget. And then these bits where the letters go into, I think I'm just going to make it, because I want to make it look like it's sort of inset, right? I'm just going to do it black. You can even use a black pen at this point just to literally fill it up. Probably quicker than pencil, because with the pencil I'll have to go over a few times. You will have seen a screenshot before I started speaking again, so that you could see where we'd reached with what I'd shown so far, so that you could pause and just make sure that if you are following along, it's easy to just sort of see where all the colors have been laid out, where the shadows and highlights have been laid out. I'll do the same for this bit as well. All right, so that will be black. I don't want to put too much gold. Like I said, I want it to be predominantly blue. So I think what's going to look good, I don't want it to be too gold, because there are going to be other colors coming in, like the girls' clothing, obviously the baubles on the Christmas tree. So I don't want too much color sort of clashing. So what about, I think these pillars here, at first I thought I was going to do them gold, which is good. I left it blank, uncolored until now. I think I'm going to make these blue. Okay, so this bit here as well, I think it'll look nice in blue, so there's not too much gold breaking everything up. Yeah, so all of these pillars, it's not like the blue is quite obviously quite bright and in your face. I like how it's looking, actually, the combination of the blue and the gold. I'm actually quite happy with how it's turning out. But I think putting too much gold then adds in too much busyness, I would feel. I think what I might do is the base of the post box, keep that as gold. I'm not sure what to do these inner bits, the color. I was thinking gold, but I feel like there'll be too much gold. So let's do the frame gold. And maybe the inner bits can be blue, but very light blue. By the way, I'm recording this on another day. So my coloring sessions are quite short sessions, so I probably, when I finished the recording, the speed coloring, I finished off the other bits off camera, and then I went off. I didn't have a chance to do any more, which is why now this is day 2 of coloring. For those of you who wonder how long it takes me to color a page, so we're still on the same element. Okay, so I said I think this will be gold as well. Again, I'm not doing much, I'm just laying out my colors, yeah. I don't always do this, but because it's such a large element, it will sort of help just to lay out the colors and to show you guys so that you know exactly where I'm doing my blues and golds. All right, so now to decide, so that's pretty much everything other than these bits. What shall we do? I think I'll do, I think I might leave that as blue, okay? Because we have the gold here, so yeah, let's do it as blue. Yeah. I'm also thinking blue because this is going to be envelopes and papers. I don't know what color I'll be doing that yet. I tend to use brown ochre for like old paper sort of look usually. So I don't know if I'm going to make them colorful or I'm going to just do it simply like that. And because of that, if there was gold around that area, the envelopes might disappear. So that's why I've decided that these areas just behind these envelopes and letters will remain blue. Okay, I think that's it, guys. Now, so we know where all the golds and blues are going. I just have to decide about those windows. Either it can be a very light gold, that, you know, sort of the central part of that, or I make it very light blue. And I think I'm leaning towards the blues, like, you know, my lighter blues that I've been using, so light ultramarine or sky blue. I think maybe that's what we will do. So I'm going to go for my light ultramarine. I'm going to keep it very light just to see first what I feel about it. Yeah, I think that will be nice because then I can use gold again for this little trumpet thing and for the crown. Yeah, so let's keep it blue. So light ultramarine. I'll do this bit fully because you already know how the blues and golds are going to be colored in, but this bit obviously is a little bit of a new bit. So I'm using light ultramarine from the edges, which is where I think the shadows would be. Again, always working from my shadow out into my highlight. And then you can always add more color. So I'll keep it quite light. And then once I've colored in all the rest of the blue and golds and I feel I need to darken up, then I can darken it up with the other shades of blues that we've been using for the post box. But for now, I feel just to differentiate it a little bit, make it look like maybe like a window or something, make it look like glass rather than, I would assume the post box, even though I've done it blue, would be possibly metal. So I want to make it look different to that. Okay. So with regards to all these little bits that are in the little windows, now that I've mentioned it's a window, I might leave those bits till the end to color, because like I said, certain elements on a page, usually you'll see me leave them till the end until I know what other colors I'm bringing into my illustration, into my page. Then I can decide, okay, I can put certain colors in. So for example, I think the crown will be gold, but maybe if I'm putting in reds or something like that, certain elements, those tiny little circles might be red. That I think will be gold. But then to decide what color to do the bow and stuff, I want to see what colors I'm bringing in. And I've not planned out the whole page like I mentioned, and because of that I'm not going to do this tiny elements yet. I'm going in with my sky blue now. Just going over the light ultramarine as well, just to sort of blend it. I'm not going to use water on this section, so I'm going to leave it as it is. I think I want to put a bit of shadowing under these elements that are there, so I might come in with my light ultramarine again. Okay, just use my light ultramarine underneath, for example, this trumpet. Just so it doesn't look flat. I've not really thought about light source much yet. I don't always, because it can become complicated on a busy page. But usually I wouldn't have my light source coming from the front or from the bottom or from the back. It'll always be from the top, whether it's, and usually it's from a corner. So that's why I'm putting my shadows sort of on the bottom of these particular elements rather than on the top. Yeah, they're very subtle shadows because I've used very light colors. Sky blue, and then, as you guys know, I like to deepen up my shadows a bit, so I might go in a tiny bit with the ultramarine, just sort of here, sort of on the edges, basically. Hopefully I've gone for the right color for the inside. I'm not sure if gold would have been better. It would have stood out more, but I'm not so sure I wanted it to stand out more because of all the other elements that are still going to come. I didn't want it all to clash. I've been thinking about what other colors I'm bringing in onto this page, because like I said, the only idea I had was what color I wanted my post box to be, and I didn't want it to be conventional on this particular page, because recently I also did in autumn, if you remember, I did the Rita Berman page in Europa, where I did the pigeons with the post box, in the London section. And I'd done the post box red, like they normally are. And so I thought, oh, I just want to be a bit different. I don't want to use the same colors, because I knew I would just pick up the same color combinations I used for that post box and go ahead and do this one. So yeah, I just decided, okay, I'm going to go a bit different. And I hadn't seen anyone else from what I remember, having done a yellow post box. I mean, yellow, blue. Wow. All right. Yes, I'm just darkening up shadows under the elements as well. Again, to help them just not look so flat, just to help it pop. And hopefully you guys can see that. It's ever so slight, but yeah. So I think that's what we're going to leave it as. I don't think I want to make these particular little window sort of things too dark. And actually go in with the white to smooth it all out. Check that your whites are clean. So you're not going to bring any colors. Like, I don't know if you noticed at some point when I was coloring the gold up there, I brought in a bit of brown into my highlight, a darker brown, which is quite disappointing, but it doesn't show that much now. So this is literally just to smooth out like the sky blue into the white areas and brighten it up a bit, the area a bit. Again, not necessary. You can just leave it if you wanted. I'm pressing quite hard when I do this because I'm not expecting, hopefully, to go in with more color. Yeah, sorry, that was white, okay? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that will look okay once I've got all the other darker elements around those little windows. So that's what I'm going to do for the other windows as well. I think what I'm going to do is, the rest is going to be pretty straightforward, but what I can do is I'm going to do this bit, in case I'm doing the paneling a little bit different. I'm going to do it on camera, but I'll speed it up so it doesn't take too long. I'm using the same colors as I've been using, but then the rest I'll do off camera, and then I'll put the screenshot so you can see what it looks like. All right, so yeah, I'll put this bit to camera now. that's the post box pretty much done, and I'm actually quite happy with how it looks. I like the combination of the blue and the gold. Hopefully you guys do too. I have a couple of elements to finish off, but like I said, I will do that when I come to start adding other colors to the page so that I know what colors I want to bring into those elements. So for now, this is what it's going to be like until we start putting on more color to the page. Now, what I'm thinking is this layout of color along with me speaking while I'm coloring is taking a bit longer, and so what I'm thinking of doing so that I can get this done and out to you guys before Christmas, I'm thinking of doing it in parts so that you have you start getting little bits of this particular page trickling in onto your screens, and hopefully we get it done soon. So yeah, I thought I'll release this particular video as part 1, and I'll start recording the other elements on part 2. I'll see how many parts they're going to be, but I'll start recording other elements in the meantime, but at least you have this first video to get going if you're following along with me. So hopefully you guys don't mind. I'm really enjoying how this page is coming out. Now I have to think about what I'm going to do. I'm thinking, because I want things to look a little bit cooler, more wintry, the greens I'm going to use, usually I use quite yellowy greens, but I think I'm going to have to use slightly different greens for my tree. So I'm going to try and do that in the next video, get together some color combinations, but I definitely won't be going for my usual, you know, earth green yellowish or olive green yellowish. I'm not going to go for those colors. I don't think it'll work with what I had in mind. So yeah, I have to think up a nice color combination for the Christmas tree and for those leaves there. So I think what I might do next in the next video will be the Christmas tree and those leaves, maybe some of the brickwork if I can. And yeah, it'll start filling up the page and I'll know what other colors to bring in then. All right, guys, I'll leave you guys to it with this part. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this layout of color along with me chatting while I'm coloring. You guys can let me know, because I remember a lot of you wanted this version of color alongs. So do let me know. I'm free for any feedback. I absolutely don't mind. If you prefer my previous color alongs, let me know. If you're happy with this layout, let me know. All right, guys, I'll be back with you guys again soon, hopefully with part 2. So until then, take care. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.